Noorsign Books presents Ramadan Miracles, Stories of Faith Found in the Ordinary. The Longest Shift. Part 1. Still Running. London, before dawn. Dr. Zakariya Osei is a surgeon, a believer, and a man running on empty. But on the first morning of Ramadan, a quiet prayer room and a waiting emergency department are about to show him that sometimes the longest shift is the one that brings you home.
The door to the tiny prayer room on the second floor of St. Thomas's Hospital stood open, just a crack. It was 4:38 a.m. on the first day of Ramadan. Dr. Zakariya Osei stopped mid-stride, a paper cup of coffee cooling in his hand. Outside, over the Thames, the sky was a deep, exhausted blue, city lights clinging to the edges of the water. He hadn't meant to stop. He'd meant to walk straight past, down to A&E, back into the familiar fluorescent hum, but something in him yanked the invisible handbrake. He nudged the door open with his shoulder. The room was barely the size of a storage cupboard. One narrow window looked straight into another brick wall. A green sticker on the ceiling marked the Qibla. On a little shelf, a few slim books, a plastic bottle for wudu, 2 rolled-up prayer mats. One mat lay half unfurled on the floor, geometric pattern faded where countless foreheads had pressed over the years. It had been 3 months since his had been one of them. His phone lit up in his hand. A faint, tinny adhan spilled into the corridor. Fajr, London. Zak's thumb moved automatically, silencing it. He stepped once into the room. The coffee in his other hand smelled bitter and old. He could see with painful clarity what he should do. Put the coffee down. Make wudu at the little sink outside. Unroll the mat. The first sujud of Ramadan. The first real sujud in 3 months. Since the man died. The thought skittered across his mind like something dropped and hastily kicked under a bed. A cleaner's trolley rattled somewhere down the corridor, the normal world impatient. Zak stepped back, letting the door drift almost shut. His reflection flashed in the window. Tall, too thin face, gray at the temples that hadn't been there 6 months ago. He turned away and took a swallow of cold coffee. By the time he reached the stairwell, the taste had settled on his tongue like penance.
A&E was already awake. It never really slept. It just dozed in the small hours, if you squinted. Footsteps slowed to a tired shuffle. Monitors beeped in a sleepier rhythm. But underneath, the department pulsed constantly. Machines humming, vents sighing, people breathing, hurting, waiting. Zak swiped his ID and pushed through the staff door into the controlled chaos. The whiteboard dominated the central station. Names, ages, complaint codes, waiting times in frantic colors. To most people, it was scribbles. To Zak, it was a map of the only world he had time for. 15 corridor beds, 6 already full. He forced his gaze away from Bay 4 and the corridor leading to it. "Morning, Zak," called Mia, the charge nurse, not looking up from her screen. Her hijab was tucked under a plastic hairnet. "Happy Ramadan." "Morning, thanks." His voice came out rough. "How bad is it?" "How bad do you want it to be?" He gave a half smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Hit me." 4 suspected strokes, 2 sepsis, 1 stab wound stabilized and asking about his phone, a stabbing in recess gone to surgery, ambulance calls stacking, pressure from upstairs to clear corridor beds, winter surge that refused to end. "Consultant on call slept in," she added. "Congratulations, you're the grown-up in charge." She meant it as a joke. He heard it as a sentence. "Handover," he said. "Let's go." He listened as the night registrar ran through admissions. Patient, presentation, plan. He asked the right questions, nodded at the right times, wrote nothing down. He never needed to. His head could hold whole wards of information, webs of symptoms and test results, cross-referenced against the internal textbook he'd been building since 19, when he'd decided he would be the person who made the difference between the living and the dead. After handover, he moved through the department like a current through water. Bay 3, laceration, reassured, discharge plan. Corridor bed 5, elderly lady with pneumonia, oxygen on, adjust the SATS alarm so it didn't scream at every tiny drop. Bay 7, teenager with a panic attack, chest tight, eyes wild. Zach sat on the edge of the bed, matching the boy's breaths. Look at me, Ahmed, he said softly. In through the nose, 1, 2, 3. Hold. Out through the mouth, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not dying, you're having a panic attack. Nasty, but not fatal. We'll ride it out together, okay? In less than 5 minutes, he knew Ahmed wanted to be an engineer, feared disappointing his father, and was terrified Ramadan plus exams would crush him. You'll be okay, Zach told him. One breath at a time. That's all any of us can do. He heard his own words, and neatly stepped around what they suggested.
By mid-morning, adrenaline had taken over. Hunger was a faint ache buried under caffeine and cortisol. The staff WhatsApp pinged with Ramadan Mubarak and suhoor jokes. Someone had stocked the staff room fridge with foil-wrapped samosas for iftar. Even through the door, he could smell the spice. "Doc, you fasting?" a middle-aged man in a corridor bed asked as Zach adjusted his IV. "Yes," Zach smiled. "First day." "You people are something else," the man said, admiration thick in his voice. "All day, no water, still running around saving everyone. Allah will be proud of you, eh?" Zach's smile tightened. "That's the idea," he said, turning away before the flicker in his eyes betrayed him. He did not tell the man he hadn't trusted himself to bow his head in 3 months, because to bow would mean facing why. It had happened in this same building, this same department, a different corridor. He never let himself think the name during the day. Names tore open compartments, so he reduced it to fragments in his head. Male, 34, chest pain, central, radiating to left arm, onset, intermittent for a week, worse over 24 hours. Apologetic. "Sorry to bother you, Doc. I'm sure it's nothing. Didn't want to waste anyone's time." "No such thing as wasting our time when it's chest pain," Zach had said. Meant it. Ordered the tests, moved on. The ECG had been borderline, misread, misplaced in the shift change fog. The registrar on duty drowning in 10 other fires. Corridors lined with trolleys. The trust emails afterwards spoke of unprecedented demand and capacity pressures. He did not walk that corridor fully in his mind. Not yet. He had a department to run. So he ran. By late afternoon, the fuzz of fasting settled properly. His mouth was dry, palms lined. A nurse on break offered him a bottle of water, then snatched it back. "Sorry, Doc, forgot." "It's okay." He smiled to make it true. Soon. At 6:14 p.m., Maggie from reception poked her head into the station. "Sunset, love," she told Mia. "Want me to cover phones so you can go? Do your thing?" "You're a star," Mia said, then glanced at Zach. "You too, Habibi." He checked the board. No immediate disasters. 6, maybe 8 minutes window. "Go," he said. "I'll call if I need you." They both knew he wouldn't. On his way to the kitchenette, he passed the family waiting area. Brown vinyl benches, vending machines humming like bored insects, coats and bags slumped in a tired row. Chaplain Rohima sat at the end of a bench, plastic container on her lap, ID badge on a faded blue lanyard. Her pale blue hijab caught the strip light, making her look a bit more solid than the other corridor ghosts. "Dr. Osei," she said, lifting a hand. "Evening, sister." "First day," she said, and held out a small packet of dates, like an offering. He hesitated only a heartbeat before taking one. Soft, cool. "First day."
"May it be accepted," she murmured. "Bismillah." He said it with her. The date's sweetness hit his tongue with the force of memory. His mother at a vinyl-covered table in Peckham, Ghanaian bean stew, limp white bread, his father's booming Pentecostal amens tangled with his mother's quiet bismillahs. He swallowed. The sugar jolted his veins. "Thank you," he said, more gruffly than he intended. "There is soup," she said, patting the container, "if you have time. I should get back. We're full tonight." Then, "Allah make it easy," she said simply. He went to the kitchenette anyway, dug a forgotten protein bar from his locker, and ate it leaning against the sink, one eye on the clock. He did not go to the prayer room. He told himself there wasn't time. There was never time. Not for that. By 9 p.m., the department had tipped from frantic into numb. 14 hours on his feet. Lights too bright, sounds too sharp. "You staying?" Mia asked quietly. "You've done your hours." "Yeah, we're short." "You were short yesterday." "And the day before." He smiled thinly. "That's kind of the point. Call your wife at least." "I will." He didn't. At 11:03 p.m., during the huddle, the clinical lead dropped it, almost casually. "The trust is reviewing the Marcus Webb incident again. Family pursuing civil action. Nothing new medically, but expect more emails about documentation." The name hit his skull like a dropped scalpel. No one looked at him. He kept his face still, spoke when it was his turn, felt his pulse hammer in his throat. Afterwards, he found himself at the extra shifts sheet. Ramadan, Rhoda, someone had scribbled, with a biro crescent moon. 3 nights next week uncovered. He wrote his name in 2. On his way back, he caught his reflection in the dark window of the closed fracture clinic. For a moment, he didn't recognize the gaunt man with sunken eyes and a faint twitch at his mouth. He stopped. He stared. He looked like some of the patients who came in with the quiet kind of collapse, the ones who'd gone too long pretending they were fine. He walked into the staff bathroom and locked the door.
The fluorescent light was harsh. The mirror over the sink freckled with watermarks and the ghosts of wiped-off jokes. He turned on the tap. Cold water gushed out. He cupped it to his mouth by habit, then froze, hands suspended. He stared at himself. Slowly, he lowered his hands and let the water run over them instead. Right hand, left. He scrubbed them together, rinsed his mouth, nose, face. The cold prickled his skin awake. Right arm to the elbow, left. Feet. Wudu. His body remembered the sequence, even when his heart claimed it didn't. When he reached his left arm, he stopped. The water ran over his wrist, splashing in the basin. He could almost feel the path from here to the prayer room, out, down the corridor, second right. He could see himself on the mat, forehead pressed into the pattern, Al-Fatiha rising in his throat, after 3 months of silence. 3 months since the man died. His fingers found the tap and turned it off. The sudden silence was loud. He dried his hands on a paper towel that shredded in his grip, threw it away, unlocked the door. By the time he stepped back into A&E, his face was composed, compartments sealed. Something had cracked, though. He could feel it. A fine hairline fracture running through the wall he'd built around December. The board was still full. The system still roared. He went back to work. And somewhere in the building, unseen, the little prayer room door stood open. Just a crack.
You've been listening to Ramadan Miracles, a Noorsign Books original. Sometimes the greatest test isn't the work that never ends, but finding the stillness to begin. Dr. Osei's journey continues. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next miracle. Visit noorsignbooks.com to join our community and get the full collection. Jazakumullah khairan.